I consider there's three types of watches. There's a watch that you find. Sometimes you're around looking around at a pawn shop or online on eBay or wherever you find watches or you buy watches. And you happen to find a watch that you like and you buy that watch. That's one type of watch. The other type of watch is a watch that you're actually looking for. Let's say you get in your mind that you want a Submariner, any watch that you want, a PRX, or any watch that you're looking for, and then you start looking for it. You go online, you go to the stores, and you look for those watches, and that's the second kind of watch. Now, the third watch, and these have nothing to do with the value of watches. Sometimes you're looking for a Berthier Seiko that may be $90, so it's got nothing to do with prices. Now, the third watch is the watch that comes to you. You don't look for it. It wasn't a special that you found, a deal. It's just a watch that comes to you. And many times those are the most valuable watches that there are. Because I've said the story before, and I'll say it again. A long time ago when I had a watch repair shop, I had a guy came in and he wanted to replace a crystal to his watch. And honestly, the watch was really not a good watch. It was a $10 watch. It was just something really cheaply made, and the crystal was 1 millimeter crystal, but I still had to charge about $15 to replace that crystal because, of course, my time, and then I had to stop what I was doing and clean it and replace the crystal and all that. So I was being honest with the guy, and I told the guy, I would recommend buying another watch. I told him, the replacing the crystal would cost more than the actual value of the watch. For $15, $20, you could buy a better watch. And I think I was charging him, I don't exactly remember, but it was much more than the watch was worth. So the guy got a little upset. He told me, you know what? I'm not asking you. Just replace it because this is a gift. This is a watch somebody gave me, and I really value this watch. So I want it fixed. And I understood the value of watches. It's not always related to the monetary value or the brand of the watch or the heritage. It's the value. There's value that comes with watches because they came to you with somehow or another. Either you inherited it, somebody gave it to you, or you want it, or they just come to you. It's not a watch that you look for. You probably wouldn't have picked that watch if it was up to you, but it just came to you. Now it's your watch, and those have a really high value that may not be a monetary value necessarily all the time, but it's a watch that just has value. And today I want to show you guys a watch that I won at my work. The watch is a Citizen. I'm going to change cameras here to show this watch. Citizen Echo Drive. Of course, it came on a bracelet. I put it on this strap because I like these watches on straps. This is not necessarily a watch that I would have bought. This is not something that I'm looking for, a watch like this, but I have it and I really like it. And it's a Citizen. It's an Echo Drive. It's a great watch. There's nothing wrong with the watch. I do enjoy it. It's not necessarily a watch that I would buy, but it's a watch that just now has a story with me. And I'll give you guys just a little bit of the story. It turns out that the company I work for, they're based out of Texas. And if you guys are watching me from the company, thank you very much because I know that some of the people in the company are subscribed to my channel, and I really appreciate this. But the memory that comes with this watch that came to me is that I was nominated for an award this year as a maintenance supervisor or maintenance technician. And I got to fly out there, and I stayed at a nice hotel. Of course, they paid for all that. I did end up winning the award, and that's why the award and the watch, they give you a watch. So the watch is always going to have this special memory of me, going down there, being in Texas for a few days, and winning this prize. So this watch is always going to have a lot of value. It's not a cheap watch. It's a good watch, but it's not a Rolex and Omega, but it's a watch that has just immense value to me, and that's a third type of watches. That's a watch that sometimes has more value than watches that just have monetary value or name brand value. Now, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing, today is January 1st. Today is the first day of 2024, and I'm really happy to be making a video, and I just want to say that. The other thing I want to talk about is they ask me a lot on this channel, what do I think about microbrands? And microbrands are brands that are not very popular. They're kind of unique watches. They're a brand that's starting out, and they have their own style, and they're interesting watches most of the time. Now I'll give you guys a little bit about my experience with microbrand watches and the reason I don't really buy microbrand watches. And my experience is going to be different than everybody else because obviously I've had watch repair shops. I'm a watchmaker. I don't do that for a living anymore, but I do have experience as fixing watches now. The one thing that happens, and I'll show you guys a watch that I have with me right now to demonstrate what's going on. I'm going to show you guys this Alpina Avalanche Extreme, which is a really nice watch. What happened is when I bought this watch, the crown was broken. So as you can see, it has just a generic crown on it. It doesn't have the original crown. The original crown makes this watch much, much better looking. So it has this crown that fits it. It's a screw down crown. So I had it's finding a crown that fits it. There's two different measurements for this crown. There's the actual crown size and the thread size because it's threaded in. So this is not just a crown that you get just any size. You have to have the right size. So of course I looked for this crown online because that's what we do. And people that fix watches, the first place we go is we go online or we go to Alpina. Of course, I contacted Alpina. I wanted to buy a crown with him. And this is not to talk about Alpina. This is just microbrands in general. That's my experience with microbrands as a watchmaker. I contacted Alpina, and Alpina said, well, take it or mail it to your nearest dealer. I think there's one in Los Angeles, and they'll take care of it. I just wanted to buy a crown because to me, replacing a crown is a 5-minute job. I don't want to pay $300 or $400, or I don't know how much it would cost me to get this crown replaced. I just wanted to buy a crown. Now, the thing is, if this was a Seiko, a Rolex, an Omega, a Tissot, any common or usual brand that's popular, I'm either going to find an original used crown online on eBay, or I will find an aftermarket crown that's basically almost the same thing. If this was a more popular watch, I'd have no problem. If this was a Seiko, I'd have no problem buying a crown like any color, any size. Now, this is not a Seiko. This is a micro brand, so I have no access to a crown. A crown is just very simple. If I lose one of these screws, if I lose the case back, if any of these parts end up missing, if this bezel breaks or scratches and I want to replace it, there's no way of buying it or finding it. I would have to send it to Alpina. It's a micro brand. They're going to charge me. Once it's there, they're going to say, well, it's $400. Or I don't know how much they're going to say, but whatever it is, it's either that or this watch is just trash, or now I'm going to have to wear it with this little generic crown that, honestly, after I put this crown, it's still a beautiful watch. I just stopped using it because it doesn't have the right crown. I was watching online on eBay before I made this video, just making sure there's not 100 crowns out there for this watch, which I was sure there wasn't because I've looked for this crown for years. And I found the watch, somebody selling a watch. It's got a little rubber gasket around the crown. Their watch doesn't have it. I guess it wore out or something happened to it. And I'm sure they can't replace it. Nobody's gonna sell them that little rubber gasket. So that's my issue with micro brands. They're good. The movements are usually common movements. It's got an ETA movement. So if it was something with a movement, I'd have no problem replacing anything. If it's a hand, if it's a dial, if it's even the watch band is really expensive for this watch because it's not a common watch band. So I got to buy it through them and it's their sizes. So I learned that even though I do like micro brands, as a watchmaker, as somebody who can fix my own watches, I know that if something breaks down, if something that's like a bezel or something exterior, or even just a hand, or the dial scratches, sometimes crystals break and then your dial scratches. Then if this was a Rolex, I could order a dial. Rolex dial, I can find a dial. I could find any part for a Seiko, a Rolex, an Omega, a Tudor. There's parts for all that. Now, when you get into these micro brands, they're not set up to sell you parts. You can't call them and they'll send you a crown. They're not set up for that. Either you buy a new watch or you send it to their authorized dealer, which is somewhere in the world. They're not at every corner, and you don't know how much they're going to charge you. And once it's there, I don't know if they're going to want to service it or what they're going to want to do. So now this watch has just been sitting there. I don't really wear it anymore. So whatever amount of money I spend on this watch is pretty much, I don't want to say lost, because I still got a movement there. I can use a movement and stuff like that. And maybe if I want to sell parts from this watch, I'd sell them because there's no parts for them. So that's my experience with micro brands. I know there may be some micro brands that may sell parts, but usually they're not set up. You can't call them and ask them for a dial or anything like that. So That's my experience with microbrands. Anyways, it's great being back here. 2024 is my first video of the year, and we're going to have an amazing year. Thank you very much.